DeepSeek, the Chinese AI model that upended tech stocks on Monday, may not be as powerful as it initially seemed. Now, OpenAI is reportedly investigating whether the Chinese AI startup used OpenAI models to train its own and has evidence, they say, that Chinese entities have tried to pull OpenAI data in the past. The suspicions, if true, could mean that DeepSeek's model is much less impressive than maybe initially believed to be. Joining us now with what all of this means here for the AI backdrop, I want to bring in Olaf Groth. He is a CEO of Cambrian AI. It's an artificial intelligence advisory institute. Olaf, it's great to have you back here on Yahoo Finance. I'm curious just your assessment of the developments that we've gotten on DeepSeek here over the last several days and how the tech community, how your community, the AI community, is viewing this.
Yeah, it's good to be with you, Shauna. This, in my humble opinion, is still a fairly significant feat. Yes, there is the issue of using OpenAI's data. However, it is very commonplace, quite frankly, for a lot of these models to be scraping wild and crazy across the internet. And so I still think this is a fairly substantial engineering feat that experts have examined, and they found that these Chinese, very young Chinese engineers have done a great job at optimizing and working around constraints in a way that that oftentimes we in the West don't, and we throw additional money at it and make these models very expensive. So from an engineering angle, still, I think, a fairly significant feat. From the angle of what it will do for the ecosystem, look, this is a boost for open source. I think it's a proof case that open source, where you build on open source, open weight models with new innovation, is a promising path forward, and it will hopefully verticalize a lot of AI applications that are more affordable and therefore stimulating demand. And so hopefully this will be good for the market overall. From a geopolitical and national security angle, we'll have to see about this. I think the last word hasn't been spoken. For one, I think the data that you're generating by interfacing with DeepSeek does go to Chinese servers. That will become an issue, as it is right now with TikTok. And secondly, censorship if you use the cloud-based solution. And then, of course, the question is, how will we react from a policy angle to this new and fresh Chinese challenge? As it is, Alibaba and others are building on DeepSeek in turn. So this is, I think, the first step in a fairly severe acceleration.
Oh, talk to me a little bit more about that when it comes to the security concerns, the cloud-based use of it versus the localized use of it. It's confusing for a lot that aren't too familiar with the ins and outs here of the industry. So when you introduce that open source model, how does that then change or influence that conversation?
Yeah, look, I mean, open source just means that DeepSeek was built on Meta's Llama and some PyTorch frameworks. According to latest posts from Mark Benioff, also used some research done at Salesforce. And so it used a lot of things that were in existence that's perfectly legitimate. In fact, that is the purpose of open source and the power of open source, because people can, in a very free and diffused manner, iterate on innovation that others have created, keeping everything transparent, open, and accessible and low cost for other people. Now, what that does mean is that open source models that generate a lot of data in the United States, then spreading that much more effectively, that data going to Chinese servers will become an issue at even greater scale. Because whether you're going through the API or you're cloud-based, the data goes to Chinese servers, and that may need to be negotiated if the app were to continue to live and thrive in the United States.
Olaf, then is it safe to say that the market then, to some extent, did overreact just in terms of what this ultimately means here for some of the U.S. players?
Well, I think it was a wake-up call, and as such, the market signal is right on the mark. But yeah, I think it was outsized, and it is a bit too conservative, because we have to keep the long view. In the medium to long term, I think open source successes around the world that are built on U.S. technology were foreseeable, quite frankly. Meta's model is very popular out there. It's very successful. So that I think is an overreaction given the long-term promise, because as you make these models cheaper, more pervasive and more diffuse, then more people experiment, get proficient, and have an easier time getting to a return on investment because the cost is lower, that will make, I think, AI solutions a lot more attractive to a lot of people, including for higher value and higher cost solutions with higher cost chipsets, such as NVIDIA. So I think longer term, this is good news for the AI economy.
Olaf, you mentioned TikTok briefly earlier. I just want to get your thoughts just on the fact that it seems like Trump seems to be pushing this bidding war here for TikTok. We got the entrance, potentially interest here from Microsoft. He's floated Elon Musk names in the past, just to name a few, that could potentially be interested in TikTok. How do you expect the administration to use this as a bargaining chip? And I guess, how do you see this evolving here over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, look, I think Trump is using this bidding war, and I think he is instigating it and fueling it. There's some, I don't know, 10, 12 parties interested and active now in this in order to do a couple of different things. Number one, he wants to extract the greatest value for whatever the stake is that we are going to be acquiring. We meaning any entity based in the United States. So maximize the value, repatriate some of the revenue that Americans are making, as it were, into the U.S. economy, and make sure that it is based here with a U.S. hosted solution. And then use this as a negotiation chit in the now in the starting negotiations around trade investment that will also have to take into account cyber and data concerns. So this is the kickoff of that.
All right, Olaf, always great to get your insight. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us here.
Always good to be with you. Thank you.